They kept the junior employees and cut the VP. Let me tell you why that's becoming a pattern. So if you are a director, a VP, a senior VP, or a C-suite leader right now, I need you to hear what I'm about to say. This is not a scare, a strategy, or a tactic. This is data. The layoff wave of 2026 is not hitting the bottom of the org like it used to. It's moving up the ladder. And the people who built their entire professional identity inside one company, inside one title, they are the most exposed right now. So today we talk about why. Why is this happening? And more importantly, what to do about it. You have time. There's still hope. Now, if you're new to the pod, if you're new to this channel, thank you for coming on. This is going to be impactful for you today. But I'm going to help you get ahead of the storm before it actually comes knocking at your door. So let's talk about some data here. Now, let me give you some real numbers and what we're seeing across the board, because this is not my opinion. This is some data right here. So over 1,600 companies so far have announced mass layoffs. This is since January, since the beginning of this year, and they're not done. We're in Q1 right now when this comes out. So we're talking about Amazon, we're talking about Meta, we're talking about Microsoft, we're talking about Intel, we're talking about Block, we're talking about Workday, Salesforce, the bigwig, right? This is not a coincidence. If you watch where the money is going, and if you watch the patterns, you'll see this is not struggling startups. These are the big players, right? So these are profitable, cash generating companies or enterprises, if you will, and they're cutting their senior leadership. Again, this is not a scare tactic or some type of strategy for me to get you guys to hop on the call, become a client. This is not about financial distress. This is about longevity. This is about where they see business as going for them in the future. This is about restructuring around a learner model. And in that learner model, they have to restructure for the future to project and forecast what it's going to look like a year or two from now. So they're getting ahead of it. They're cutting the highest salaries first. So that's the most efficient way for them to do it, so it looks good on their spreadsheet. So one survey over 1,000 US business leaders found that 48% identify highly compensated employees as the most risk for cuts. And that is not a junior employee statistic. This is a senior leader statistic. So that's you.
I want to take a pause for a second and talk about your confidence, right? You got the experience, the results, the credibility, but when it comes to putting your voice out there, fear creeps in. Who am I to do this? Does that sound familiar? That's imposter syndrome. And it's keeping you small. My coaching is about breaking through that, helping you turn your expertise into content, conversation, and coaching that builds real influence in your industry. So if you're done hiding behind titles and ready to lead with your story, head over to connectingwithcreatives.com/coaching and let's get started. I'll see you soon.
Now, and I'm not laughing to make light of it, but we really have to look at the numbers here. And this is the time. But the beautiful thing is that this is the time for you to get in front of that. With the way that technology, the market is moving, the way that companies will need your expertise this is the gap that we can close. Here's what's changed and why the old rules no longer apply. For decades, seniority meant security, authority. You climb the ladder, you continue to get promoted, you go to the next level, and you retire, right? You build institution knowledge, you become a real asset in a way of what you do for that company or an organization. You become indispensable. So you build the equity with the company, relationships and tenure for stakeholders and people that you influence within your company structure. So that model worked when the cost of replacing you was super high, right? So that model worked back in the day. That model worked, 10, even 5 years ago, that model worked to a certain degree, because that replacing you it costs way more than what the company is willing to invest to replace you. But companies are now making a calculation that they haven't made before at this scale. And they are asking, can we get 80%, right? Can we get 80% of this person's output in a junior employee, in a junior hire, plus the use of AI, right? System at 40% of the cost. That's what they're calculating. Can we get like an 80% of output? You couple that with AI system at 40% of the cost. And for a growing number of senior roles, the answer that they concluded was, yeah, we'll take that bet. And they landed on yes. Now, this is not about your performance. This is strictly a business move. And they're playing chess and not checkers. At the end of the day, it comes down to math. So if your math is not mathing, if you're not building equity outside, your math should be building equity and your percentage of income outside of your role so you have more security and leverage. So the roles that are most vulnerable right now are share a specific profile. Now these roles, they're high salary. So if you're making six figures plus 125, 150, 200, 250, yeah, this is you. They involve work that can be systematized. So if the role, the work that you do, it can be systematized, you're at risk. So, and they sit in layers of management that companies are actively trying to flatten. So literally, if you have a role that can be manually done, if it's calculating numbers, if it's reaching out, if it's following up, all of those things can be automated. So if you are leading a team, managing, like I said, a process, you're overseeing a function that could be restructured. Theoretically, it could be restructured. You are in that conversation, right? You are in that conversation, whether you know it or not. Those conversations are being had as you're listening to this. And it's on the next meeting and the meeting after that. So they're thinking about cutting costs. So let's talk about the call nobody sees coming, right? So that leads us there. So if you're not preparing for those calls right now, if you're not preparing for those shifts, you need to start right now. So right now I want to talk about, the call for a minute because I think people, a lot of times your work coworkers, colleagues, sometimes you consider them as family. Business is business when it comes down to it, and everyone has to answer to someone. So if it doesn't make sense for the business long term, you perceive those people as your family, coworkers, colleagues, you guys are tight. But I'm telling you, I've seen this. Business is business. So don't underestimate how fast this can happen in the blink of an eye. So you are not going to get a 6-month warning. You're not going to see a town hall to where you have that luxury to where they kind of give you guys a heads up so you can start looking for different opportunities. It doesn't happen like that. So what happens if you get a calendar invite with no context, or you skip levels and they ask you for a quick sync, or HR reaches out to you to schedule a time? All that can be done in 20 minutes. Everything that you built over the last, 10, 15 years inside that company goes out of the window in 20 minutes. It happens like that. So the relationships you built, reputation that you have, the projects that you led, the institutional knowledge that you have, all of that is gone in 20 minutes. And it doesn't transfer, right? It doesn't transfer after they let you go. So your equity in that organization does not follow you. So if you go to another situation, you have to start over. You have to start building that trust. Have to start building those relationships. You have to start proving yourself to the new organization. And if you have not built anything externally outside of the organization, it's going to be really challenging for you financially, mentally, emotionally, especially if you don't have a pipeline of opportunities. If you have no market presence outside of the organization, it's going to be challenging for you to get your next opportunity. Not saying that you can't lean on your network, or there's not, opportunities that reached out to you in the past, but the week after that call, you're starting from zero. I've seen this happen to people, right? When I was in a recruiting firm, I had literally seen this happen firsthand. Like I said, you have time in 15, 20 years. You're great. You work with brilliant people. Like, you're overqualified, but people who have leverage, they're not utilizing it because they didn't think it was going to happen to them. Typically, it happens to them. And then they're on LinkedIn. I've been there too. So I'm speaking to myself, looking to get hired. You have that green badge. You don't have the purple one, but you have the green one. So the question you need to ask yourself today is, what are you going to do about it? Right? What are you going to do about it? And you have to be honest with yourself. Are you set up for success? Are you set up to pivot? Are you set up to leverage your expertise outside your company? Right? I want this to sit with you. So if you're in a role, if your current role was eliminated tomorrow, what would you have outside your company? Not your resume, because people want to see. They want to see and know that you're a leader, a mover, and a shaker. They actually want to say yes before they actually interview you. Right? Can people Google you? What will they find? Is there an audience of people who know you, like you, and trust you, who knows your frameworks, who knows your thought process, who knows the value that you have to the market, who knows your principle? Is there a pipeline of connections that you strategically partner with, strategize with, had conversations with, network with, went on their podcasts? Are there people in your pipeline who would pay for your expertise, independent of your title? Are there? If the answer is no, then you don't have leverage and you have to start building that. And it's not too late, right? This is not a character flaw. This is something that you have to do right now, especially in a senior leadership role, right? Even middle management at that in this. So that's the gap, right? And it's a gap that can be closed, but only if you start actively pursuing leverage and equity outside of your company. So not right before you think Q3 or Q4, you have to start now. You have to start before the call comes, not after. Because after, I know you're going to be in scarcity mode. You're going to be in thirsty mode. You're going to be in not in the right mind. This is the best time to build while you actually have leverage, while you're still leverage your title, leverage your network. It's always easier to get another opportunity when you currently have one. For whatever reason, it's always easier to do so. And as we transition, so here's what separates the professionals who will navigate this wave without panic. Like I was alluding to, like if you started like 3 months ago, really looking into opportunities, or if you're listening to this and you want to start now and you still have your role, perfect. If for whatever reason you're finding this as in when you're searching for a different opportunity, now is the best time to start. But if you have a role and you want to start building leverage, that's probably the best time to do it. The scarcity mind, you don't have a panic mode, being your clear mind and make the right decisions and pivots and build without needing it. Right. This is the smartest way to do it. The people I'm talking about, they build a platform first. They recorded their thinking out loud. They created a body of work outside the company that the market can find without them being in the room. And that's what you want. That's what essentially what I was rambling about is you want to build that. Like I said, they're building while they still have infrastructure that makes them irreplaceable to the market. So that's what you want. You want to be able to build while you still have that role because that just, it gives you more leverage, not just for your employer, but for you. So that infrastructure does not have to be like massive. It's not required millions of followers. You don't need a lot of followers to make an impact. Honestly, all it takes is several consulting, advisory, but all it requires is consistency, positioning, and a 12-month commitment to showing up in the right places with the right message for the right audience. That's what it takes. You can take this for what it's worth to do your own research, but I guarantee you, you have to start right now because if you do not start right now, you will be trapped. The only position you will like or you will want will be the position that you choose to create. So the layoff of Wave 2026 is real. The data is clear, and the professionals who are going to come out of this period ahead are not the ones who were most loyal to their employer. I promise you. I've been laid off. Nothing personal. It's always business. And if you have been laid off in the past or in 2026, it wasn't personal. It's business. I'm here to encourage you. You need to get ahead of this right now and to start to strategically build something that belongs to you because your employer, I know you're grateful, but they're only thinking about them. They respect you while you're there, but at the end of the day, they're going to make a business decision that works for them. So if you are a senior corporate leader, founder, VP, director level, right, it's time to build a platform that protects you regardless of what any company decides. So the link is in the description. So if you want to start building your future, you want to start building leverage, check the link in the description. See what works for you. If it makes sense, we can hop on the discovery call, but at least you know where you stack up against the market. All right. I'll see you guys on the next one.